And that is the golden voice of Africa, Seife Tadelle. They're coming through with a beautiful song called Nyanyama. You are tuned into Channel Africa from an African perspective, coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa with me, Kumbelo Munjerere. We are together until midnight Central African time. My special guest tonight is Dr. Seife Tadelle Kidane, a senior research fellow at the Institute of Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. We are celebrating the launch of his new book tonight, following over 20 years of thorough research and academic interrogation of the African continent and its identity. The name of the book that we are launching tonight exclusively here on Africa Tonight is The Post-Colonial African Unification and Identity Politics Conundrum, written by Dr. Kidane, who is my special guest tonight. As I said, your book is out finally after many years of postponing. When we talk about identity politics, Doctor, what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about ethnic politics here, Doctor?
Thanks once again, Kumbelo. Yeah, identity is, it has a variety of manifestation. Identity can be, religion, it can be, sex orientation, age, and so many things. But not only ethnic identity, but we are discussing now more ethnic identity in terms of politics. So that is our emphasis goes. I think if you're asking me that how identity politics is playing in post-colonial Africa, we can answer it separately.
Yeah, let's delve deeper into that and talk about how the identity politics are unfolding here on the African continent, and of course the consequences of these identity politics, because I mentioned earlier that they have driven a wedge between us as Africans. Talk to us about how this identity politics are proving to be Africa's downfall.
Yeah, look, the identity by itself, it's not a problem. But how we are playing with identities, that is the most dangerous part. Yeah. So the book is talking about how identity politics make African development, a stumbling block. Yeah. So that is which we are going to, unpack it here. Some of, I have to mention some analogy or examples how these are playing in different parts of Africa. For example, as I mentioned earlier, in Cameroon, it's not ethnic identity, but as a language identity. The Anglophone Cameroonians and Francophone Cameroonians are divided based on colonial identity. But I can give you a different example, which is not it's a colonial setup, but there is no any kind of language or religious identity. For example, I'll take you to Somalia, how it's plunged in conflict for the last, we can say, 30 years. As you know, Somalia is one country which speaks only one language. They have only one religion, but the colonial setup, it gives them, Italian Somali, English Somali, and French Somali. Between these three, there is a major conflict among also these clan groups. In Somalia, there is no ethnicity. They are only the clan, the lower level of division of ethnicity. That's what we call it, clan. But Somali, it was plunged in almost 30 years among these things. And I can take you to Nigeria, the Biafra war and the North and South divide. That was the huge, conflict which the post-colonial Africa is facing, faced actually. And it was resolved in different ways. Also, I can take you to Sudan. That is a different kind of identity. That is religious identity between the Christians and the North, the Muslims. As you remember, before 12 or 13 years before South Sudan gets independence, they fought almost 30 years or 35 years into this conflict. This has nothing to do with ethnicity. It's purely a religion. So you can see different kind of identity is playing in different part of the continent. With the same Sudan, also you can remember. I think you remember that the Darfur genocide. The Darfur genocide. It's not a different ethnic group or different religion, but same religion, but between Janjaweeds and the African Muslims, the black African Muslims, and those who are Janjaweeds, you know, Arab-oriented Muslims.
Yeah.
So you can see, you know, the difference between the different kind of identity, similar religion, but they are fighting because of different identity. You are an African Muslim, and I am Muslim from the Arab world. You know, that was basically the fight between these two. And also you can take also a different kind of identity fight in Rwanda between the Tutsis and the Hutus. And these are the same African people. They speak the same language, what they call it Kenya, Rwanda.
Yeah.
But the colonial divide between these two ethnic groups, it made them to fight and to lose, you know, 1 million people in less than, you know, 2 or 3 months' time. So I can take you on and on.
But why do you think that the African continent is still grappling with the issue of identity politics, Doctor, even many years after the continent attained its independence?
That is one of, you know, the center of this book. We shouldn't blame entirely the colonials, the colonial masters, but we have to blame also somehow post-colonial African leaders. I mean, it's not just to shift blaming, but some of the things which you have to mention. You know, when you change, you know, when you take, you know, independence from the colonial masters, you have to bring, you know, coherence and cohesion in your own countries, rather than, you know, dividing your own society based on ethnic groups. You know, it has been playing, you know, in every part of Africa. I can take you to DRC. DRC is one of the manifestation of ethnic division. But before that, I think it's the good example is the land of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana. You know, it's the first country to get independence in 1957. That's he is a founding father of Africa. He is the most intelligent person in terms of, you know, promoting Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. And the Kwame Nkrumah was hosted by ethnic groups. And those who said, you know, Kwame, it doesn't belong to this certain ethnic, you know, tribe. So they organized themselves and they overthrow him. And he brought, you know, the golden idea of African unification. That was hampered by ethnic identity. I mean, we have to discuss that separately. It needs a lot of, you know, analysis. But let me take you to my own country, Ethiopia, which is not colonized, but it was rubbling. I mean, the whole of maize is going on with ethnic identities, especially after 1991, the TPLF, the Tigray People Liberation Front, took power. They divide the country based on ethnic line and language line. So that ethnic federalism brought us, you know, a conflict. As you remember, before like 2 years, almost 1 million young people, they lost their life. I mean, it's recorded between the Tigrayans and the central government. And the next war was still continuing in the Amhara region with the central government. That is also the ethnic line. And I can tell you the displacement of millions of Ethiopians. Now, ethnicity become, you know, an integral part of the system, the financial system, the governance system, and so on. So we can mention a number of things, but I'll revert about the Ethiopian case as the main scenario.
You are talking about the ethnic divisions and divisions along language lines, Doctor, and you mentioned the conflict in Tigray in northern Ethiopia, and also the conflict in Darfur in Sudan, which left many people dead at that particular time, Doctor. But would you say that these divisions that you are talking about, this deeply ingrained identity politics that you are talking about, are they perhaps to blame for what is known as Afrophobia here on the continent, the hatred for fellow Africans, would you say?
Not really. That is a different perspective altogether. Afrophobic is someone who moved from one country to the other, and that afraid of an African person. That is a different. But within the country, this is the ethnic division which we have witnessed. For example, I can give you a typical example of Kenya in 2097. 2007, if I'm not mistaken, the election saga, between the Kukuyus and the other ethnic groups, the Luos. We lost a number of more than 1,000 people. Kenya, by any standard, when you look at the Horn of the Eastern Africa, that's a very stable country, very harmonious country. But still, the ethnic division, it makes it just not to grow to the level of what we would like to see. That is a bottleneck in many ways. So my point is, it's not only conflict. The aspiration of Africans could not be successful while we are entangled with such kind of ethnic rivalry here and there. You shouldn't go any further. You could have mentioned the Zulus, the Inkatha movement in 1994, how it was devastating in South Africa. That division, it manifested from time to time in different scenarios. Even the conflict within the party system. Some they call it Zulufication, some the causes and the minorities was undermined and so on. In most cases, Southern Africa is a bit stable, but still this issue should be dealt, decisively just to get out of this vicious circle.
But what kind of a leadership, Doctor, what kind of a leadership does Africa need in order to eliminate those bottlenecks that you are talking about? Because it sounds like we are stuck with this problem for a very long time. What kind of a leadership is needed in order to remove that problem?
Look, one of the things which I was proposing in this book, we need selfless leaders in the continent who are not attached with ethnicity. Ethnicity is a very tiny skin, which you can scratch and mobilize, as much as you like. So people, they would like to, capitalize on that just to get vote, to get, to mobilize resource and so on. So we have to look beyond our ethnicity. At the end of the day, you have to govern the entire country. So not only your own ethnic group. So that is a dimension we have to look at. But this is a good point which I would like to mention. Kwame, when he saw such kind of a movement, and also Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya, what they did was they banned the ethnic political party system in their respective country. I don't know how many countries are banned ethnic based political system. So that is crucial. For me, banning it's a little bit undemocratic, but we have to conscientize our people not to align, based on ethnic line rather than ideological aspiration. You can mention a different kind of ideology which we can promote. The African Renaissance. That's the way I look at it.
But it sounds like that problem of identity politics is holding the continent back in terms of development, in terms of economic development that we need to see to happen here on the continent, Doctor. Do you think that perhaps something such as the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is trying to redo to make sure that we don't see the long-lasting impact of that problem of identity politics, do you think?
Kumbelo, you read my brain, don't do that next time. You know what happened? I was thinking about this. I'm not mentioning identity politics for the sake of mentioning. Will not develop at any cost if we are narrow-minded and looking only our backyards. We have to look beyond our shore. So AfCFTA it's a continental trade between different African countries. Look, in your community you are a member of a family. In the country you are a member of ethnicity. For example, if you are in Soweto, you are in a different there is a Zulu canton, there is, but when you go out from South Africa, you are called like South Africans. When you go out from Africa, people, they call you like an African. So we have to look and detract from such kind of thinking. But you mentioned right that we can't go or be successful in AfCFTA while we are rubbling with ethnic identities. How we can trade the Zimbabweans and the South Africans, the Lesotho and the South Africans. Lesotho is at the embryo of at the heart of the South Africa. So if we are labeling this is what they call it, a Lesothian, this is a Swazi, this is a Zimbabwean, how we can trade among ourselves? This is a very ridiculous thing. As you can see, the European Union, one of the things which made them successful, now they are intra-European trade is 72%. Now still intra-Africa trade is 17% or 16% in general. I'm not sure the data is whether it's updated or not. So in order to develop Africa, we have to deal with identity politics first. That is the way I look at it.
It is 11 minutes after the hour, 10 p.m. Central African Time. If you have just joined us, you are listening to Africa Tonight, exclusive to Channel Africa from an African perspective. My guest tonight is Dr. Seife Tadelle Kidane, who is a senior research fellow at the Institute of Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. And tonight we are celebrating the launch of his new book tonight, following over 20 years of thorough research and academic interrogation of the African continent and its identity. The name of the book is The Post-Colonial African Unification and Identity Politics Conundrum. You can be part of the conversation. You can access at Channel Africa 1 using the hashtag Africa Tonight. Let's take a quick break now. Channel Africa. It is 18 minutes after the hour, 10 p.m. Central African Time. You are tuned into Channel Africa from an African perspective, coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa with me, Kumbero Munjerere. We are together until midnight Central African Time. This is the second hour of the show. And tonight, my special guest is none other than Dr. Seife Tadelle Kidane, a senior research fellow at the Institute of Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg. We are celebrating the launch of his new book tonight here on Africa Tonight. The name of his book is The Post-Colonial African Unification and Identity Politics Conundrum. Feel free to be part of the conversation as we go along, because we are about to wrap up our conversation. Welcome back, Dr. Kidane, from what I heard you in our previous segments, Doctor, you are saying that every society is diverse because it practices its own culture in distinct ways, isn't it, Doctor? People adhere to a distinct set of cultural norms and beliefs around the world, not just here on the African continent. Is that a fair assessment of the gist of what you were talking about?
Yeah, most definitely. We have to respect also diversity. The diversity it's a beauty. Africa is a mosaic of different ethnic groups, religion, and clans, and so on. So that it doesn't harm us at any given time. The only thing, how we can harmonize such kind of diversity to the betterment of African people, that is the most important question we have to pose. So this is the area which we have to investigate, how we can develop while we have different identities, different culture, different language. Of course, coming together in a way of converging our language through time. It's a wonderful thing, but it takes time. It will not happen overnight. Also, ethnic identity, it might look different in Africa, but if you look at the Yoruba and maybe the Zulus or the Xhosas, or if you look at the Oromos and somewhere in Pedis, they are somehow similar. The only difference is the language and a little bit of different kind of stories. Otherwise, African stories, cultures across the continent, somehow similar. Fortunately enough, I have traveled across the continent, with the exception of the Maghreb countries. Even the Maghrebs, there are Berbers who look like or celebrate like our African brothers and sisters. So this is what we have to capitalize, and we have to nurture, in this regard.
Who did you have in mind, Doctor, when you were putting this book together?
To be honest, those countries who are conflicting, or indulged in conflict for long, like the Horn of Africa, the Sahel region, and Central Africa. That is the center of the discussion in this book.
And what kind of an impact, Doctor, are you hoping that this particular book will have here on the African continent, looking at perhaps the body politic and also looking at the socio-economic settings here on the African continent? What kind of an impact are you hoping that this book will have?
Look, the very unfortunate part in Africa is the civil society is not developed yet. You can't disseminate information as much as you like. But fortunately, the fortunate aspect now, the technology, we can disseminate information as much as possible. That's also, but also the young people, which I'm hoping very much. Young Africans, they can change, rapidly this the notion of backward thinking, primordial way of understanding. I have to mention this is one of the slogan or a quotation from my book. Identity politics is primordial. It's in nature, aggressive in character and irrational in its organization. So these young people, they can understand this very well. So the only aspiration of young people is just to have, a good life in their, throughout their life. So they would like to do business, Nigerian with the DRC with Angola, the Mozambicans with the Zimbabweans, the Namibians with Rwanda and so on. And they don't need, such kind of, a division among Africans. They would like to capitalize, 1.2 billion people, the market opportunity. They don't want to indulge in, local politics of the division. So that is my hope. Africa will change, rapidly. But one thing is true. Africa by now, currently, it works up bottom-up approach. Unfortunately, we don't have, bottom-up approach. So if we can convince, our governments in respective countries, the activists, the lobbyists, so we can adapt, identity politics, especially ethnic and religion and language-based politics to be banned in some way from Africa. That's my hope.
Yeah, I did mention earlier that the title of your book is The Post-Colonial African Unification and Identity Politics Conundrum. Are you able to take the listeners through some of the key chapters of the book, Doctor?
Yeah, definitely. First, the book is the start, identifying what kind of political challenge in Africa. The first chapter is discussing about the critical examination of post-colonial African identity politics, the multiplicity, political identity and ideology, and so on. And the second chapter, it deals with post-colonial dilemma between national and versus ethnicity. That is which discuss a number of issues in this that regard. And chapter 3 also deals with citizenship and intra-nation building via the lens of African consciousness. I think for today, it's better just to mention I think on the next show, we'll mention the remaining. And chapter 4, it deals what does it mean being an African, and it's a post-colonial debate. I think we have to discuss in detail this one. Who is an African? That is a debate. I mean, as you know, Africa it's not homogeneous in so many ways. So who is an African? How you can identify an African man, and who is giving this identity, or you are an African or not? So we have to define it, and we have to give it a sense. Otherwise, it will be an empty rhetoric.
But what kind of challenges did you encounter, Doctor, when you were putting the book together?
Look, the first thing is we don't have much literature in this regard. Many people they are not writing how ethnic politics is playing, downplaying, the African development. That was the main challenge. Also, it differs from country to country. How ethnic politics is revealed or manifested in different ways. That was a challenge in compiling this book. And the other thing is, getting data from different African countries. It's a bit of challenge. These are which I would like to mention.
You mentioned that one of the chapters perhaps contained on the book is the issue of the critical examination of post-colonial African. As you mentioned, we are going to break our conversation into two parts over 2 nights. This is the first conversation, and we will have another follow-up conversation in a week's time, Doctor. Just as we wrap up this conversation, what can you tell us about the book and where people can get it?
The book is published in New Jersey at World Press, African World Press, that which is accessible online. At the same time, it's published by the IPATC, as you mentioned. But by the way, I have to thank to the Professor Sipiman Lazondi, his unwavering support just to make this book a reality. Also, other colleagues and comrades who helped me, in tuning, making the book in this shape. So the book is available online. Also, I think each academic sector, they will get it. As to me, it's academic research book. I'm not going to sell it. I'm just hand over to the University of Johannesburg. So this is what all about. Oh,
Doctor, we can go on and on, but this has been fascinating, insightful conversation, Doctor. It has been a pleasure having you on the show. Any parting shot? Your last word?
Look, as you mentioned, we'll have one more week just to unpack some of the details. This is an introduction part where we start and how we ended, how we compiled this book. So next time, we have to discuss, the substance of the book. So I mean, the listeners, they have to wait and listen that conversation.
Part two
of the
conversation.
Part two is the most important one.
Doctor, it has been such a pleasure having you. The African continent is blessed to have thought leaders such as yourself, Dr. Kidane. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show, and we wish you all the best. And let's talk again in a week's time when we delve deeper into our conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kumbelo. It's a great pleasure just to have you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Seife Tadelle Kidane, Senior Research Fellow at the Institute of Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa, joining us exclusively here on Africa Tonight as we celebrate the launch of his new book tonight, following over 20 years of thorough research and academic interrogation. I hope you have enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. It is 29 minutes before the hour 11 p.m. Central African Time. This is Africa Tonight.